All right, today we're diving into something really big. We're talking about one of the most profound, most daring thought experiments in all of literature, Fyodor Dostoyevsky's masterpiece, The Idiot.
And it all boils down to this one massive question at the very heart of the novel. Dostoevsky set himself this incredible challenge to portray what he called a perfectly beautiful man, basically a Christ-like figure, and then just drop him into a society that's totally consumed by its own passions and vices, and see what happens.
So, our story, and really, Dostoevsky's whole experiment, kicks off on a train headed for St. Petersburg. And it's here that we meet our protagonist, Prince Lef Nicolaievitch Myshkin. He's coming back to Russia after years away in a Swiss sanatorium, where he was being treated for a pretty severe neurological condition.
And right away, Dostoevsky just screams outsider at us. You can see from the description, he's pale, he's sickly, he's dressed in this very un-Russian way, and all his stuff is just in a simple little bundle. He's so gentle and open, almost like a child in his sincerity, which is a massive contrast to the world he's about to walk into.
And let me tell you, what a world it is. The prince isn't just popping back to Russia. No, he's stepping right into this pressure cooker of 19th century St. Petersburg society. It's a place with rigid social classes, completely obsessed with money, status, and passions that burn so hot they just incinerate everything in their path. And who does he meet on that very same train? Well, it's his polar opposite, his dark mirror image, a guy named Parfen Rogojin. This contrast just perfectly captures the novel's central tension. Where Myshkin is all spirit and compassion, Rogojin is pure, raw, earthly passion. He's obsessive, he's wealthy, and he's violent. I mean, he's the perfect embodiment of the society's chaotic energy. And you really can't overstate the sheer power of money in this world. Rogojin has just inherited an absolutely staggering fortune, 2.5 million rubles, which basically gives him the power to chase after his every single desire with this terrifying intensity.
And the object of that desire? A woman named Nastasia Philipovna. She is stunningly beautiful, but has this deeply tragic history. She was kept as a mistress by a wealthy aristocrat since she was a teenager, and now she's being passed around, treated like property, an object to be bought and owned by men like Rogojin.
So you have to ask, right? What happens when this guy, Prince Myshkin, with all his radical innocence and compassion, just slams into this totally volatile world? Well, he doesn't judge anyone. He just pities them and tries to save them. But his goodness is like a foreign language that nobody can understand, or maybe that nobody wants to.
This quote here, it's from one of the most absolutely explosive scenes in the entire book. At Nastasia's birthday party, men are literally bidding for her. Rogojin crashes the party and just dramatically outbids everyone. A person's worth is being negotiated in cold, hard cash, right out in the open. It just shows you how transactional this world really is. And get this, the passions in this book, they're not just feelings. They're like actual physical, all-consuming illnesses. We see it all the time. After one really intense encounter, Rogojin himself collapses into what's described here as brain fever and convulsions. Emotions are a sickness, just as real and debilitating as the prince's own epilepsy. And this is where it gets really tragic. Nastasia sees the prince's compassion, but she doesn't see it as pity. She sees it as this pure, selfless love that she feels totally unworthy of. So his simple goodness doesn't fix anything. It just creates this impossible, destructive love triangle that pulls him deeper and deeper into a world that's just going to tear him apart. But, this novel is so much more than just a tragic love story. It's a deep philosophical dive into faith and mortality and what it all means to exist in a world that can feel pretty godless. You see, the prince is just haunted by this idea of the final moments of life. He tells this story about a man who was condemned to be executed but then got pardoned at the very last second. That experience, that quick look into the abyss, it fills Myshkin with this almost painful appreciation for every single moment of life, a way of seeing the world that everyone else just finds bizarre. Now, to really challenge the prince's faith, Dostoevsky throws in this incredibly powerful counterargument in the form of a character named Hippolyte. He's a young intellectual who's dying of consumption, tuberculosis. He's a nihilist, someone who believes life is meaningless, and he's just raging against the dark, dumb force of nature that's about to snuff him out. So at the prince's own birthday party, of all places, Hippolyte gets up and reads this long, rambling confession before trying to kill himself right there in front of everyone. He describes this nightmare he had about a monstrous reptile, which for him is a vision of nature as this blind, devouring machine. He's a man who's completely torn between a desperate need for meaning and the conviction that there is none. He's the perfect intellectual foil to the prince's simple, gut-level faith.
Okay, so this brings us right back to Dostoyevsky's big question, the whole point of the experiment. What is the fate of a truly good man in this world? Well, the conclusion is as powerful as it is bleak.
But here's the thing. Instead of healing this broken society, the prince actually becomes a catalyst for its destruction. His universal pity, his inability to choose between the people who love him, it's all seen as weakness and indecision. His goodness doesn't redeem the world, it just speeds up the tragedy, leading directly to obsession, madness, and murder.
And the final scene, wow, it's truly one of the most devastating moments in all of literature. The prince, having lost everyone he tried to help, just sits beside the man who's become a murderer, able to do nothing but offer comfort. The shock of it all is just too much. His mind completely shatters, and he goes right back to that state of being an idiot. The experiment is over, and the results are just shattering.
And so Dostoyevsky leaves us chewing on this incredibly haunting question. Is radical goodness simply too fragile, maybe too alien for the world as it is? Or does its presence just expose a brokenness in our society that we'd rather not look at? It's a question that makes The Idiot a truly unforgettable and timeless work.